watched the Elvis documentary finally.
That we mentioned last week.
It was bad.
We watched an hour of it.
And we stopped midway through because it was repeating itself.
Wait, did we already bring this up on this episode?
No, we
did
brought it
came
up
out
on
of
the
that?
last episode that we canned. So,
Yeah.
Canned heat?
the scrapped episode. They had a canned heat.
Canned schmeat.
But,
Either way, so during that documentary, he's talking about, quote-unquote documentary, by the way.
oh yeah, you're going to mention when he groomed her, right?
Yeah, to where he's talking about Priscilla, and he's just like, I like Priscilla. She was young. I could make her into anything I wanted her to be. And I'm like, that sounds like grooming. I don't like this.
Because he was like,
And he's
what?
like, but I'm not a pedo. Don't worry.
He was like 25 and she was like, what, fucking 14? Oh,
And then remember...
Captain Marvel Jr. was my favorite. His life mirrored my own.
Mark Boone Jr.'s life mirrored my own.
Now here's some random footage of a photocopied version of me flying with little Captain Marvel Jr.
Seriously, this is why I keep bringing up Mark Boone Jr. I feel like that's what I keep hearing.
Me and Mark Boone Jr. could fly together anywhere. He was just a little too heavy, so he would sink lower to the ground.
Oh, okay. So the Elvis documentary was created by the guy who made the Paul is Dead documentary, and
It's great.
It starts off with a
great.
really poorly acted, what would we call it?
It's basically a reenactment of supposedly they made a request to the government to give them all the files on Elvis Presley that the FBI had, and when they send them to them, literally it's just pieces of paper that somebody poured ink all over. And keep in mind, supposedly, according to the documentary, they sent it to them a week later.
Yeah.
And the documents are just all covered in ink that is still wet, mind you. And the documentarian's like, oh my god, they covered it in ink. And fucking Jeff Lynne looking ass dude is just grabbing all the papers, getting his hands all inky, and shouldn't be like, we gotta clean this up before they get here. So they clean it up, and then they find out Elvis, where he lives. And when they find his car, he has like 8 tracks and guns all over the car. And it's all 8 tracks of Elvis, not of anybody else.
And then for some reason, like his license plate said like Bush or something.
Yeah,
oh,
it said
yeah,
Bush
he had
because he's like a hardcore
bump-
Republican.
Yeah, bumper stickers of like Reagan, Bush, like Dwight Eisenhower.
Yeah.
Like it just was like, and also why the fuck would he have 8? And also those 8 tracks look brand new.
They were.
Yeah,
they were, like,
right?
brand new.
Like they're still in the box.
But so according to this documentary, because also once they go into his house, there's just Elvis memorabilia everywhere, and I'm like, so one, if for the sake of the argument this is true, he is literally not even trying to hide it, and 2, he is completely self-absorbed. He thinks he is the absolute pinnacle of everything, because he only collects Elvis shit. He's like, that's me, man. I gotta collect everything of myself. Doesn't even bother to collect anything else. I'm like, this is complete horseshit.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't like the Beatles. I didn't like when they said that they were bigger than Jesus. When I met John Lennon was a punk. Paul McCartney was too feminine looking. George Harrison was a wimp. And Ringo didn't do anything.
The other thing I fucking hated is...
It's the best line in the movie.
The other thing I fucking hated is he would obsessively just talk about his mom, be like, my mom was my best friend.
But Mama will worry.
Mama would worry. Any other time I was with a woman, I would distance myself from her because she wasn't Mama. And I'm like, it sounds like you want to fuck your mom.
You know
dude.
what?
Please rephrase what you're trying to say, because this isn't sounding good.
Austin, if you don't plan on doing this, somebody should do this. Take this documentary and just compile all the scenes when Elvis says mama and just make a compilation of that. It'll at least be like 10 minutes.
Just make it just like Elvis's Oedipus complex. That's the entire clip, and it's just 10 to 15 minutes worth of him just being way too thirsty for his mother.
By the way, I love the way you described it. You said, like, this is Elvis if he was the water boy.
He literally was. Just like, no matter what the situation, the documentarian's like, so what did you think about drugs at the time? My mama always said drugs were bad. And I'm like, and they're like, so what did you think about the war? My mama always said it was good for a man to go to war. I'm like, dude, do you have to just fucking address her for everything? My mama said.
Mama said.
They're like, what did you think of your Vegas juice? Mama said the wipes weren't good. He literally was saying shit like that about the mafia, and I was like, dude, he's terrible. and they had him sing the N-word and other horrible
Oh yeah,
shit.
he did say the N-word.
Dude, the fucking blacked out face for Elvis looked scary.
Yeah,
it looked like a nightmare.
It really did. You could see like the eyes and the mouth. It looked like a void.
I love how Austin's like, and how did Elvis lose all the weight?
Yeah, because he was real chubby during his last years. I'm sorry, his quote-unquote last years that the government wants you to think is his last years.
And then the most annoying part of the documentary is every time the guy's like, well, Mr. Presley, what about this? You always hear him say,
He would stammer and stutter a lot.
every line.
What did you think about your movies? Mama said.
Oh,
And I'm like, God fucking damn it, shut up, Elvis.
And don't you like it of how like he's like, Priscilla, she looked just like Marvel, whatever.
Captain
Marvel Jr.'s girlfriend.
No,
She
his.
had the exact same nose and the chin and the eyes.
No,
it was uncanny.
It was even worse. He said Captain Marvel Jr.'s. It was Captain Marvel Jr.'s sister who was his sidekick. But that's besides the fact. Priscilla looked like her. And then, because she was my one and only. But then there was a woman that got away from me. She was actually my one and only.
But
and
then there was this actress, and she was also my one and only.
And she
And
looked
they
just
all
like
look
her.
like Captain Marvel Jr.'s girlfriend's brother sister.
He talked about Anne Margaret, another actress, and then he kept like going on, but it kept repeating. It kept just repeating that same fucking like line. And after that, all it was just him talking constantly about the same shit, stammering, and then just more shots of the fucking comic book.
And then also the cutaway is just always lightning and just like a really shitty Captain Marvel Jr. logo.
Oh yeah, and then you always hear like twinkle noises.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
stock sounds.
Yeah.
It's so fucking dumb.
It was so badly made, and it was 2 hours long.
You remember the part too when like Elvis just like name drops Bob Dylan for some reason?
Oh yeah.
Well, like some obscure fact.
Yeah, they named themselves after the Bob Dylan song. I don't think he would have liked that.
It's the kind of thing where you're like, I love I asked you, I was like, do you think Elvis would have given a fuck about Bob Dylan?
I
You're like,
don't-
no.
I don't think
Oh,
he
and then
cared.
he also knew the exact song title and what album it was from, and I was like,
It's also funny too, because then you put two and two together, because the director's like a super Bob Dylan fan.
Yeah.
Because he did like a 5-hour documentary about him. Actually, he did like multiple ones of
Yeah,
him.
he did.
then I'm sure that after the first 30 minutes just repeats itself for the next 5 hours.
I also love that the director, he wants to look like Bob Dylan, but he looks like Jeff Lynne.
Isn't that weird? We didn't point this out, but in the very beginning of the documentary, the guy goes to Graceland, the director, and it's just shots of him like in Elvis's house, and then it just cuts to a random old woman.
And she's just standing there.
Yeah,
I think she's giving like a thumbs up.
yeah, it's just like it's like almost a slideshow of him at Graceland.
You remember the
I
part?
think honestly the documentary is just an excuse for him to go to Graceland.
Isn't it funny too? Like how
Adam
you hear
Sandler?
like Elvis over there, like, oh yeah, you know, my whole career is based off of Captain Marvel Jr., which I think Graceland still has my comic books, and they do a fucking plug to the comic books in Graceland, and you're like, if this motherfucker wasn't hiding, how would he know that?
Yeah,
You wonder, you're like, does he just go to Graceland then, if this is true?
They're like, Elvis, get the fuck out of here! Nobody can know that you're alive.
oh
The
yeah.
employees have to have like they have like a fucking
They have to like write a non-disclosure agreement.
yes,
They're like, look,
they have an NDA clause.
they're
in
they're like,
fucking
look,
applications.
Elvis is gonna come in here all the fucking time.
He's
Like,
gonna
you
be
can-
talking about wanting to fuck his mom and other weird shit, and how all his girlfriends look like Captain Marvel Jr.'s sister's brother.
Sisters.
So just make sure that you don't tell anybody about this.
You like to point out that he talked about his comic book collection. He's like, they have all my comics at Graceland, and there's like 5 comic books.
Yeah, it was only fucking 5 of them.
And don't you love it how Elvis is like, but I hated the Weatherman, which is a reference to the bad guy who was like a Nazi guy, and he's like
his name Dr. Nazi or something.
yeah, and
Something
he's like,
stupid.
I love he's like, and the main guy from the Weatherman looked just like him, and then we see the picture, we're like, no, he fucking didn't.
They look nothing alike.
I also love too how Elvis is like, and I think it's in issue 5, panel 3.
Like, he knows exactly what it is.
That's right.
I'm like, this is so fucking weird.
Like, I think the director was like not only a comic book fan, but like
I think he's a moron.
he's
But he is.
well, yeah, well that goes without saying.